right, it looks like we are on. Greetings, this is Clint, your Hawkeye. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Thank you very much for joining me this evening or tomorrow or whenever you are viewing this, listening to this. So, let's see. Thank you for being here. Okay, let's jump right in. This is a little bit different today. A step backward in technology. Camera I was trying out the other day. My last video, it has been returned. There's a little bit of a hiccup with it, but that's okay. We still try to create here and just figuring out the best layout for how to present, how to be comfortable with it, and so on. So everything is, well, clear and supposedly concise, but anyway, still working on it. It's getting there, come together just fine. Thank you very much for comments, questions, and such. I really appreciate it. Okay, so beginning, let's see. So Casino Royale. This clip came across my path sometime, like whenever, but something stuck out to me. And okay, I'm already in the screen share mode. So the Bahamasine Casino Royale. Well, first we have Casino Royale 2006. Let's see, we have a November 17, 2006 US release date. So Casino Royale is a 2006 spy film. Let's see. Takes place at the beginning of James Bond's career as Agent 007 as he is earning his license to kill. The plot has Bond on an assignment to bankrupt terrorist financier Le Chiffre. Now he takes a poker game at the Casino Royale in Montenegro. So on and so on. Let's see. It's interesting. Le Chiffre. What does Le Chiffre mean? Le Chiffre, the cipher or the number. And this was a little item that stuck out too. Fleming based the character on occultist Aleister Crowley. October 12th, known as Crowley Mass, his birthday. Okay, let's back up. Let's go back to this scene. We got Bond driving, and again, we're not trying to. It's about, okay, what do we project? What information are we given? But before jumping into this, let's remember something. Like the importance of cinema. I've demonstrated in the past. There's definitely something going on. We already know this. It's already been established. But just as a reminder, from Frederick Tupper Saucy's Rulers of Evil, Useful Knowledge About Governing Bodies, from page 71. After World War II, during September 1957, Pope John the 23rd gave Jesuit theater even broader horizons with his encyclical Miranda Procis, or Looking Ahead. Now, I've covered this a couple of videos ago. Continuing, so this is John the 23rd, in his encyclical, men must be brought into closer communion with one another. They must become socially minded. These technical arts, cinema, sound, broadcasting, and television can achieve this aim far more easily than the printed word. Let's read that again. These technical arts, cinema, sound broadcasting, and television can achieve this aim far more easily than the printed word. The Catholic Church is keenly desirous that these means be converted to the spreading and advancement of everything that can be truly called good, embracing as she does the whole of human society within the orbit of her divinely appointed mission. She's directly concerned with the fostering of civilization among all peoples. And jumping ahead to page 91, this is consistently on my mind too. The story of Sun Tzu training the 180 women to drill. Let and do not forget the sound of the drum takes the place of the general's voice, but he is the one who is giving you these orders. Remember, Sun Tzu translated 1772 by Jesuit Jean-Joseph Marie Amiot, 1 year prior to the Jesuit suppression in 1773. Okay, so we're presented with, very quickly, you probably were not supposed to see unless you catch it really quickly or you watch it several times, but as Bond is approaching his destination, you have a distance meter here, and it goes from like 18, I think it's 118, 17 meters to approximately just under 13 or 130, taken at the decimal point, and which, of course, got me thinking, and in history. And then if we add, so we're not just taking this as a singular act. We want a confirmation, and we note the license plate on the car, 161239. Of course, 1612. Well, we'll get to that shortly. 1612. I don't want to. Last time I played some video during this, I got a copyright strike. My video wasn't removed, but I'm still figuring that part out as well. So let's see if we can quickly do this, because is this a teachable moment? This is definitely a loaded scene. So, hey, got the look. Okay, back up. What was very interesting. So Canada, US, and then of course it's inevitable. Being a man, we definitely know this experience. What's interesting though, how rare is this, where you have a woman, actually initiate eye contact like this, and then of course both women, and of course and whether or not, I know, whether it's in our maturity or immaturity, depending on where we're at as men, as males, we either run after this or resist it. But also being able to acknowledge what it is. And it's like, okay, this look can go right down to your loins, or it can, you stay here, you acknowledge it. And remember, how did Perseus defeat Medusa? With craft and cunning. Without making eye contact, he cut her head off. He beheaded her. Okay, so obviously we don't have to get that extreme. This is just very simple male, female, masculine, feminine energy reciprocation. But this could easily be pursued. Anyway, what in this scene though? Okay, where do I want to take this? Been thinking about that because, again, as in a man or any male in his immaturity might pursue this, and you got to wonder though, the quality of the woman, or the kind of the woman that's either been trained through her circumstances that she would be this overt in attracting a male. I think, of course, whether it's not, I wouldn't call it necessarily old-fashioned, but as a man, I want to be able to make the move and do the pursuing. And of course, this gap, I think that gap is important, where the man has to overcome this gap obstacle if he wants to pursue a woman of interest. And of course, overcoming his own thoughts, insecurities, and so on, lack of experience, and so on. Anyway, loaded scene. But what's interesting though is this: if we go big picture, that the scene is we're getting all this eye contact, and of course, 2 women, 2 flags. We've got two different license plates. The second one's coming up, and especially this is confirmed and even bolstered by 2 cameras, 1 and 2, and Bit of comedy here. Bond tying a shoe gets you're gonna make me wait. Bond takes the Land Rover. Let's see, where is it? He parks it very gently. Boom, 1611 and 1138. So again, 1611. First thought, King James Bible. So adding, definitely adding to some layers here. So let's see, Casino Royale, we looked at that. We've got, okay, so back to the phone. We've got the numbers from approximately 1817 all the way down to 1300 or the late 1200s. And this has been floating around in the back of my mind for a long time after Johnny had shared this, not specifically Giovanni Colombini, but this here, Jesuati. So Giovanni Colombini, born circa 1300, has a death date of the 31st of July, 1367. If we remember, Ignatius of Loyola, that's his death date, or his death date anniversary, the 31st of July, 1556. It's also his feast day. So it's interesting that these two men, separated by quite a number of years, have this same death date. So let's get into this a little bit. So Giovanni Colombini is an Italian merchant and founder of the Congregation of the Jesuati, not to be confused with the Jesuits or the Society of Jesus. Okay. Let's just jump ahead. Let's actually go and look at these. So the Jesuati were a religious order founded by Giovanni Colombini of Siena in 1360. The order was initially called Clerici Apostolici Sancti Hieronymi because of a special veneration of Saint Jerome and the apostolic life the founders led. The order was abolished by Pope Clement the 9th on December 6th, 1668. Okay. 1612. So let's see. So of course, what am I extrapolating from this scene? You look at Casino Royale, you got to remember who's the director, who are the writers, the screenplay. Certain names that don't get a lot of information was Paul Haggis is an interesting, raised Roman Catholic, got into scientism, whether he currently states he's an atheist, but you have Roman Catholicism and Scientology in there. Definitely shapes his worldview and of his creative output. Okay, so why? So 1612. Let's just jump on that for a second. Hold on first. Okay, you know what? Let's tackle this for a second. How the Jesuits survived their suppression, because obviously the we go from one extreme to the other. So on the phone we have again circa 1300 all the way till the resurgence and the 1814 resurgence, the August 7th, 1814 resurrection of the Jesuit order. From its founding in 1540, the Society of Jesus has been one of the most important religious orders in the Catholic Church. Got to remember to make eye contact-ish. However, it almost vanished from the pages of history when Pope Clement the 14th suppressed the Jesuits worldwide on July 21, 1773, with the brief Dominus Ac Redemptor. Catherine the Great of Russia saved the society almost single-handedly. This is very, very interesting. Remember well, here we go. She protected the 201 Jesuits, the 201 Jesuits. she had acquired in 1772 from the first partition of Poland, and insisted that they continue their apostolic work as Jesuits. There's something about this that also makes me, okay, we're given the death date for Lorenzo Ricci, the 18th Jesuit Superior General, as November 24th, 1775. And if he was present, as Tupper Saucy states that he was, for the signing of the Declaration of Independence, well, the creation, the proposal creation and signing of the Declaration of Independence, not just on July 4th. You look this up. We have August 2nd as the date, the signing date of the Declaration of Independence in the United States of America. And if Lorenzo Ricci was present, you got to remember something else, and something else that Tupper Saucy never gets to, is that August 2nd, it's listed August 1st, but I found more like 99% of the time, Lorenzo Ricci's birthday is listed as August 2nd. So I state that Lorenzo Ricci was the United States of America was the gift that Lorenzo Ricci gave to himself on his 73rd birthday. So, of course, referring to Tupper Saucy's Rulers of Evil, it proposing, remember, if Rulers of Evil is a controlled, or Saucy was a controlled source, and Rulers of Evil being what I believe to be how the general secured America. Shoring up also Sun Tzu, Sun Tzu's Art of War being not just a Chinese translation, but the actual document of how General Ricci would secure America. So, for decades, her successors continued to support the Jesuits. The Russian Society was the only surviving Jesuit entity in the world after 1780, except for a few Jesuits in Quebec. So here we have Canada, and apparently in Canada, they did not, I don't know if it was, what would be the right word, acknowledge or the suppression. They did not follow the papal bull. So anyway, few Jesuits in Quebec were Governor James Murray and Bishop. Okay, if I just read a little further, even though I've already read this, but it's about putting it together. Okay, where Governor James Murray and Bishop Jean-Olivier Briand refused to implement the brief of the suppression. The Russian Society served as a beacon of hope for former Jesuits everywhere, made possible partial restorations outside the empire before 1814, and led directly to the general restoration of the society in that year. How the Jesuits survived their suppression. Okay. The Society of Jesus in the Russian Empire. Okay, so obviously for me, this would be a book to get at some point. Definitely interesting material for me, I'm sure, and well, of course, for if you're a student of this, in which we should be, this should, well, of course, is it frustrating that we never hear this word? We never hear this title. Okay, so 1612, back to a license plate reference, back to the Casino Royale cipher. December 28th of 1612, Galileo Galilei becomes the first astronomer to observe the planet Neptune when in conjunction with Jupiter, yet he mistakenly catalogs it as a fixed star, so on and so forth. What's interesting, Neptune, the third most massive planet and the densest giant planet. It is 17 times the mass of Earth. Really? How do we know that? How does anyone know that? How do you apply the scientific method for that? Has the scientific method been applied to that? And then, of course, seeing 17 reminded me of something that I had sent to the team a couple of days ago from the 1963 film The Great Escape. You have starring Steve McQueen, James Garner, James Coburn, and Richard Attenborough, and a bunch of others. And then, of course, oh my goodness, why am I forgetting this? Charles Bronson as Danny, writing the number 17 on his 17th tunnel. Just thought that was interesting that will come up. So, back to the Jesuati. The Church of Jesuati, slightly different, different spelling, same meaning. The biggest conventual complex of the 18th century Venice was built between 1726 and 1735 for the Dominicans. It's interesting. We were told that the order was suppressed in 1668, but for the Dominicans to replace the church alongside what that had become too small for the faithful, the Dominicans took over the Jesuati in 1668. So we want to get into a little bit of history of Giovanni Colombini. Kind of history and family. The Colombini family. The Colombini were one of Siena's noble families, active in the Sienese government since the beginning of 1000. The first member to be quoted in the chronicles was Tignoso Colombino. After him, his children were named Colombini, and since then the family's name remained. His residence was a castle in the village of Iopini, just outside Siena. The same castle became a hospital in the Middle Ages, and it is still in existence. And I believe it's mentioned, so Middle Ages, it has to do with one of the, I want to say the bubonic plague, one of the plagues. While we're on the page of Giovanni, we have to acknowledge this too. Pope Gregory XIII inserted Colombini's name in the Roman martyrology, fixing the 31st of July for the celebration of his feast. And remember, Gregory XIII, under Gregory XIII, I think there's a bit of information. We have the Gregorian calendar, Jesuit Christopher Clavius's Gregorian calendar implemented October 4th, 1582. Okay, let's jump ahead. So 1612, we've covered that. Danny, history. Okay. In 1200, the family was allowed to have a coat of arms with 4 little doves painted on a blue field and separated by a golden cross. With the years, the cross disappeared, maybe because of a crusade or simply to signify the compassionate attitude of the family. But interesting, coat of arms, blue field, golden cross. And it just makes you think the surname Colombini is derived from the Italian word Colombo, which in turn comes from the Latin columb, meaning dove. The surname, where is it? Okay, let's jump ahead to this. Early notables of the Colombini family. We have Cristoforo Colombo, or Christopher Columbus, born in 1451 in Genoa. He became a talented navigator. He's famous for his discovery of America in 1492. Discovery. I think it was discovered long before then. Remember, who writes the history books? Okay. But let's see. Let's see. Okay. And now, the colors reminded me of Ukraine. Both blue, yellow, and yellow-blue flags were widely used during the Ukrainian struggle for independence in 1917. This is from the Vatipedia Wikipedia user-edited page for the flag of Ukraine. March 25th, 1917. March 25th, a significant day being, let's see, Jean de Brebeuf's birthday. It's also, where is it? Oh my goodness. I don't want to get this wrong either. I'll have to look that up. You know what? Why don't I look it up right now? March. Annunciation. It's a feast of the Annunciation. Contemporarily, the solemnity of the Annunciation, also called Lady Day, the Feast of the Incarnation, or Conceptio Christi, commemorates the visit of the Archangel Gabriel to the Virgin Mary, during which he informed her that she would be the mother of Yahshua Mashiach, Jesus Christ, the Son of God. And of course, we think of God, and then the greatest question, or a great question to respond is which God? And now it's like, Jesus Christ, which Jesus? Which Jesus Christ? The Son of God. Okay, which God? So they're celebrated on the 25th of March each year. Okay, so there we go. There's our March 25th. Okay, so just to colors, interesting connection. Okay, so jumping ahead, we've got Colombini. Okay, why I've got this. So Francis Bacon and John Dee. So let's see. So speaking of James Bond, 007, Illuminati Unmasked. I'm just going to read a little bit. If you've never, so from Dumbledore 007, if you've never heard of Dr. John Dee, you should have. He was advisor to Elizabeth I and an advanced occult adept. He was the impetus for the Harry Potter character of Dumbledore and the Tolkien magician Gandalf in Lord of the Rings. Henry VIII was King of England from 1509 to 1547, and although a licentious autocratic tyrant, his 6 marriages actually helped England break free of the power of Rome, which I've questioned in the past. The break, I wonder and have questioned if is Henry VIII's break subterfuge, the break being legitimate, but the reason given subterfuge. That's another totally, that it's beyond me at the moment. Remember, Acts of Supremacy, November 3rd, 1534. 1534 being a big year with the Jesuit order. August 15th. Don't go down the rabbit hole. Okay, Henry VIII. His son Edward VI was the first English king to be raised Protestant, but he died at the young age of 15. As England's first true Protestant king, Edward was most certainly a Jesuit target for assassination. Author Susan, Higginbotham, read it fast. Higginbotham brings up the astounding accusation that not only was Edward poisoned, his body was switched before burial to hide the evidence. Edward tried to have his cousin Jane Grey rule instead of Mary I, but Lady Jane was quickly deposed and Bloody Mary took over the throne. She and her husband Philip of Spain immediately repealed the protections Henry and Edward had extended to Protestants. She reaffirmed England's subservience to the Pope and then began a reign of terror that saw nearly 300 Protestants executed, most by being burned alive. Even as reformers, both, or quote-unquote reformers, both Henry VIII and Edward VI did little to help Protestants. Protestants martyred during persecutions. Okay, there's a reference to the excesses of this period were recorded in the Fox's Book of Martyrs, or Acts and Monuments, by John Fox. Protestants in England and Wales were executed under legislation that punished anyone judged guilty of heresy against the Roman Catholic faith. Mercifully, let's see if we can, I know it's figuring out the best way to present and remain somewhat connected. Mercifully, Mary died in 1558, so a year before Ignatius Loyola died. 1558, after only a brief rule, and their half-sister Elizabeth I, whom she had imprisoned, ascended to the throne as Protestant queen. While in prison, Elizabeth had made the acquaintance of a magician who had fallen out of favor with Bloody Mary, John Dee. Once on the throne, the Jesuit threats to Elizabeth's life were very real, and the cordon of British royalists formed around her, led by Francis Walsingham. They created an intelligence network to ferret out papists with designs against their queen, and Dr. John Dee was part of their network. He wrote to her. He knew he had, or when he wrote to her, he knew she had an eye fetish, so he signed his name in code to resemble 007. Okay. Let's jump back to. This also got my attention to 1138. It's documented whether Pixar or that license plate are intentionally numbered or given a message that make a reference to something. Again, is my projection? Am I trying to extrapolate a little too much? You be the judge. It's about, remember, cinema being far more, it provokes far more. That's a rabbit trail that let's not go down right now. Okay, where we jump from? So 1138, we got THX 1138. Shazam. Okay, George Lucas. First. Okay, THX 1138 is a 1971 American social science fiction film directed by George Lucas and is his feature film directorial debut. It is set in a dystopian future in which the populace is controlled through android police and mandatory use of drugs that suppress emotions. Produced by Francis Ford Coppola, and written by Lucas and Walter Murch. It stars Robert Duvall and Donald Pleasance. Let's jump down. In the future, sexual intercourse and reproduction are prohibited, whereas use of mind-altering drugs is mandatory to enforce compliance among the citizens and to ensure their ability to conduct dangerous and demanding tasks. Emotions. Just think of where we're at today, 2022. Emotions and the concept of family are taboo. It's like the complete inversion. Workers are clad in identical white uniforms and have shaven heads to emphasize uniformity. Likewise with police androids who wear black and monks who are robed. Instead of names, people have designations with 3 arbitrary letters, referred to as the prefix, and 4 digits shown on an identity badge worn at all times. Okay, you have this. I've not seen this yet. At some point, I would love to. So what's coming up? We've got, let's see. We have Doc Felipe had pointed this out not too long ago. And John, there was this just being able, in mainstream sources, looking at how this meeting was delayed Rescheduled to meet with Pope in Vatican in March. So original trip scheduled for last December. So 2021 was delayed due to concerns over Omicron. Over this, I don't know if have I said it. The ongoing joke about it, the anagram being moronic. I've looked at it as com noir or noir com or black comedy. Differently of the trickster. You have an indigenous delegation has rescheduled a planned trip to visit Pope Francis. So Jesuit Pope Francis at the Vatican for the end of March. The Pope is scheduled to meet with 30 indigenous delegates from March 28th until April 1st. According to a joint statement by the Canadian Conferences of Catholic Bishops and the organizations representing Inuit, Métis, and First Nations, the Assembly of First Nations, Métis National Council, and the Inuit. Pardon me if I do not pronounce this correct. So the Inuit Tapiri Kinatami. So Pope Francis is to meet with all delegates together, including a secondary group of family members and support staff, for a final audience on April 1st. So we look at these two dates, and this is what I can tell you. So you have March 28th, which is the birthday of, remember, Teresa of Avila, or Teresa of Jesus. Her death day, October 4th, 1582, is the day. Okay, let's first prime that with that her incorruptible hand, the source of the Marvel comic universe, is the uncredited source of Thanos, get this right, the Thanos gauntlet and the 6 Infinity Stones. So in 1515, on March 28th, she was born. We have, so March 28th. We also have, so April 1st. And April 1st, we know it as familiar with, here we go. History.com, April Fool's Day, celebrated April 1st. But this is where it gets interesting. So April Fool's Day, jokes by the media, major brands. Some historians speculate that April Fool's Day dates back to 1582, when France switched from the Julian calendar to the Gregorian calendar, as called for by the Council of Trent. Council of Trent was a series of, I'm forgetting the name, but okay, from 1545 to 1563. In the Julian calendar, as in the Hindu calendar, the new year began with the spring equinox around April 1st. People who were slow to get the news or failed to recognize that the start of the new year had moved January 1st and continued to celebrate it during the last week of March to April 1st. It became the butt of jokes and hoaxes and were called April Fools. So we can laugh at this or go into a kind of sorrow, because these pranks included having paper fish placed on their backs. So it's like, okay, you have indigenous delegate, where is it? Who's the Pope? We've discussed before, the office of the papacy is the little horn power, Daniel in Revelation, Rome being the fourth and final beast of Daniel in Revelation, is the Pope, in which I believe the high priest literally of Dagon. The system that came through the flood was reestablished in Babylon, and the seat, essentially the office of the seat of the papacy, is the preserved seat of Nimrod, the first king of the world, emperor post-flood. So back to having this fish reference, and then of course the subtle emergence of the trickster pranks, including having paper fish placed on their backs, referred to as poisson d'avril, April fish, said to symbolize a young, easily caught fish and a gullible person. I've shared before what I see the Canadian flag being. I have not got into that subject matter specifically with names, places, and dates. But I love my country. I love my country very much. As a Canadian, I easily acknowledge our Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, being Jesuit trained, devout Roman Catholic, and practicing Roman Catholic, a son of Rome. Remember his May 29th, 2017. So on the feast day of Julia Ledachowska, sister of Vladimir Ledachowski, former, now long past Jesuit Superior General, who led the Society of Jesus into World War II. Well, to World War I, World War I, World War II, 1915 to, I don't remember the dates off the top of my head, but this is grievous because it's a, try not to cuss. It's a joke. Will there be an apology? Remember, casuistry, mental reservation. Remember the fourth vow. I've read portions of it. If you're not familiar with it, remember, anything that has Jesuit associated with it must be looked at through the lens of the Counter-Reformation and the Jesuit fourth vow. Okay. Oh, Jacques Marquet. Why did I have this? May 18. I had this here for a reason, and I don't have a prompt why. Apologies. Okay, let's go back. Let's back up. Let's back up. So we also have, okay, April 1st being not just April Fool's Day, but we also have what influenced Giovanni Colombini to become the founder of the Congregation of the Jesuati. Where is it? Here it is. A biography of Mary of Egypt brought about a conversion in his life. He visited hospitals, tended the sick, and made large donations to the poor. Mary of Egypt. Let's see, who's this? Mary of Egypt was an Egyptian saint highly venerated as a desert mother in the Eastern Orthodox and Coptic churches. The Roman Catholic Church commemorates her as patron saint of penitence. You have her, where is it listed? Her feast day is April 1st. So if this goes down, there's the act, there's the visit on the surface, and then of course, what's the meaning behind it? It's painful to say this and acknowledge this. It's a joke. It's a joke. It's a mockery. What was done to Canadian Indigenous was intentional. That's never acknowledged. There will be no apology. It was Rome's intention. Now, of course, that subject matter that a lot of many, if not, never wants to be admitted, acknowledged, delving into, and it's just remember, what's the purpose of the priesthood? What's the purpose of it's not just priesthood, but on the feminine female side, the nuns, where it's not even biblical to have take the oath of celibacy. And as it's come up before in team briefs and Johnny's work, the purpose of the priesthood and the orders of the nuns, it's you have people suppressing their natural urges, sexual urges, and then being placed, moved, put in positions to be around the innocent, the what's the word, the vulnerable. So from elderly, the sick, but mostly children. It's not the exception. This is the rule. Abuse is the rule. And we need to be, that is uncomfortable to acknowledge that, but we need to acknowledge that and get familiar with this uncomfortable subject matter. I don't have what do you do with this? I don't know yet. Come out of her, my people. As long as we keep the system going, we literally support this and the trickster and Rome, literally the fourth and final beast. Okay. What's my prayer? My prayer is, Lord, come quick. Okay, let's see where we're at. Okay. Solutions. Pause that subject matter. What can you do in your own home for your own health, for your own well-being? How is your source of water? If you're still drinking tap water, okay, there's an issue there. As I heard a particular doctor would say, if you don't have a filter, you're the filter. Are you drinking clean water? What about your rest, your sleep? What about the challenge of if you have Wi-Fi, turning your Wi-Fi off at the very least at nighttime, while you or your family is sleeping? What about wearables? I've noticed. I caught a bit of the brilliant interview. William Ramsey interviewed Johnny Cerrucci about the disciples of Ra. The shocking truth about medicine, viruses, and vaccines. And pardon me. And Mr. Ramsey was wearing earbuds, one or two, or both earbuds, wireless technology in his ears. It's not about judging. It's just make sure if you need to be aware of these things. What's that doing? It's wearables are units that send and receive transmission. Back to the, okay, maybe it's subject matter not necessarily to get into at this point as well, but what can an individual do? And it's not about it's not about being afraid, it's about being aware. So, how's your rest? What are you putting into your body? What are you wearing? Simple. You can start there. Okay, this is your Hawkeye. Thank you for checking out my work, and I will of course post links to mostly, if not all, that I've mentioned, and take it from there. Leave comments if you like, and our questions, and I'll do my best. I'll get back to you, and we'll go from there. Anyway, thank you very much for being here. This is your Hawkeye. Bye for now.